What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get on to the topic today, I would love for you to do a few things for me. Go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the share button so you can share this with everybody who you know. Hit the bell icon so that you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then at the end of this video, after you're done watching, I would love for you to leave me a comment below. That way I can get back to it and I can respond to whatever it is that you had to say to me. For today's topic, I want to talk about the much talked about topic in recent, which is, can mixed people or biracial people be black or be considered black? And I also want to talk about, can a mixed person or a biracial person be pro-black? The short answer to the first question, which is, are they considered black, is yes. From my perspective, the answer is yes, and I'm going to explain why. Whenever you see a mixed person, mixed black person, their melanin for the most part takes over. And even if it doesn't, and it doesn't visibly look like this person has a trace of black in them, you know, the white supremacist still knows. And the whole thing with Meghan Markle and the baby was a big case of that being a thing. The white supremacist always knows when somebody is not fully white. So in a system of white supremacy, you have to understand that you are going to be looked at as somebody who is not white if you show any trace of those features being different. You're going to be outcasted and you're going to be treated like a black person even if you have just a little bit of melanin. And there's a lot of mixed people, don't get me wrong, who actually are kind of melanated. You know, they're kind of like high-ass yellow. And I'm saying that not in a derogatory sense. I'm saying that as in, there's a lot of times where you can visibly tell that this person may be black or they may be biracial or mixed, whatever term that you want to use. Now, a lot of the Hebrew Israelites or people who identify as such, they say things such as, you know, they feel that, or they believe that somebody who has a black mother but a white father is not considered black. But if it was the reverse, they're considered black. Now, me personally, I don't have this belief in isolating people who have black DNA and have a foundational black American, especially lineage. I don't believe in trying to isolate somebody so that they cannot identify as that thing at all. So for me, I believe that somebody who is biracial, has a half black, has a black, one black parent, one white parent, I believe that we should embrace them into the black community. Now, I think the problem though is how a lot of people who are mixed consider themselves. And I'm saying this from experience because I have friends and some family even who are half black, half white. Now, I'm not speaking for all of them, but I'm speaking for a good majority of the ones who I know. A lot of them have somewhat of an identity crisis. And what I mean by that is they don't really want to try to fall into one or the other. They try to create some type of middle ground that doesn't really exist and to say that this is the way that they identify. They're almost trying to transcend this idea of race, which in a system of white supremacy, you can't. The reality is that a lot of mixed blacks, they have this confusion because they feel like they're not accepted by the black side or the white side. And they're also confused because when they look at their parents, if their biological parents and the people who raised them are, you know, one white person and one black person, they see this image of two people who created them because they found each other. So it's almost as if they're giving the message that it shouldn't matter who you kick it with. It shouldn't matter who you sleep with. It shouldn't matter who you marry. So I think a lot of times they see that. So they're like, so why does this whole race thing matter at all? So it causes confusion. But I think the other part that makes it even more confusing is when they're treated just like a black person in a system of white supremacy. So I think that's what makes it hard and why a lot of them don't really want to try to commit to one side or another. And some of them have even gone as far to say things such as, when I'm in school or when I'm around certain people and stuff like that, and I see the things that people say, I get treated bad from both sides. Now, I'm not denigrating anybody's experience who is mixed. So if you're watching this video and you are a supporter of mine, this is not an attack on you. This is just the perception that I get from when I hear those comments. And I'm giving you my perspective based off of the things that I see. So a lot of times I think that there's a lot of conflating. And one of my biggest pet peeves personally is when somebody conflates things as if these two things are equated or the same to make arguments. And it gets on my nerves because you're trying to be right without truly digging into whether or not something is true or not. So what I mean by that is a lot of times when people say I hear bad things from black people and from white people, I think that they're missing something very crucial here, which is the fact that there's a difference between being treated badly via racism and being treated badly because there's a level of internalized racism or self-hatred, or may oust who they believe should be in the community, which is in some way kind of a form of gatekeeping. When you look at like a lot of white people who are treating you badly, I mean, that's just straight up racism whenever you're not really asked to fit in. And sometimes when you're even asked to fit in by the dominant society, what a lot of times they do is they're using you as a pawn to attack, the rest of black society. Because that's what happens with a lot of people who are biracial. They use them as pawns and their mouthpieces to attack the rest of black society and to denigrate us and things like that. But I think the problem, and I think the thing that people need to realize, is that black society overall, outside of people's experiences, which I believe these things happen when people say them, black society, especially if you look at celebrities, we have always embraced people who are mixed as, part of our community. If you think about the likes of people like Mariah Carey, we've embraced her. We've embraced Tracee Ellis Ross. We've embraced Alicia Keys. We've embraced all of these different celebrities who have done great things and have been great contributions to the black community. And we haven't batted an eye and said, oh, they ain't one of us. They mixed. They're biracial. They're half white, or we don't say they're white. Now, you get some ignorance, so I'm not trying to say you don't. But for the most part, we have celebrated them. I mean, think about it. And Drake, which we'll get into him in a second. But Drake, we've embraced him. And we even embraced Barack Obama's coon ass. Think about it. Everybody went out and said, my president is black. Think about Young Jeezy. He made a whole song saying, my president is black. So that tells you how our community really embraces mixed people, even if there's just a shred of blackness in them. Now, when it comes to the dominant society, they're just using a lot of mixed people as pawns to basically say, well, we can have them run counter to black society and show how they're not being accepted. And then they'll show all these weird images in movies and television shows, especially when you think about a good example is I don't know if y'all ever saw the movie Freestyle. It's a really low budget ass movie, and I believe it's a Disney movie, so y'all probably did it. But it had Corbin Bleu in it, and I think it had Madison Pettis, I think that's how you say her name, in this movie. And it really was supposed to be a story about some biracial kids and them dealing with their issues being mixed. And I remember there was a scene where Madison Pettis' character asked Corbin Bleu's character, are we black or are we white, or something like that? And he responded saying, we're whack. See, that was some corny shit. That was some corny ass shit. And the dominant society loves to do little shit like that, where they create these movies where they say little goofy shit like this. So it almost seems cool to try to you're trying to glorify confusion. That's really what that is. And I think that they do stuff a lot of times like that, so they further that confusion. But then you get a lot of people who are mixed or biracial who actually embrace their blackness. And an example of that is Colin Kaepernick. Think about when he took the knee, and then when he also spoke up about the racism that he experienced with his adopted parents who were white, specifically his mother, who was talking about how he looked like a thug because he had the cornrows. So that's what I mean by, like, some of our biracial brothers and sisters actually do embrace their blackness. There's just a select few that don't because they're confused, and now it's gone on so long, they're not really trying to hear anything else, but the point I'm trying to make though is that some of us do actually embrace that. Now I want to come back to the whole Drake thing. So recently a lot of people have been talking about the whole subject of mixed black people because of the fact that Drake and Kendrick Lamar have a beef going on. Now, I'm not really big into rap beefs. As of late, I really haven't been too big into it, but a lot of people have been telling me, about this, and I did a little bit of research just to kind of understand what was happening a little bit. And I think one of the lines that Kendrick Lamar had when he was talking about Drake was to more so question his pro-blackness, but I think a lot of people were trying to interpret it as him questioning his blackness as a whole, which is why I'm speaking about this topic in general today. Now, the reason why that's important is because if you look at the track record of Drake, he has done the whole blackface thing, whether that was in jest or whether that was because he was trying to be a silly Negroid. It was still tasteless. He has not spoken up about black issues. He doesn't speak up about anything that's pro-black. Drake is really, to be honest with you, he's kind of just doing stuff for himself, right? And so I think that's what Kendrick Lamar was really questioning when he made that line in the diss track. Now, the thing is that you can, and this is to answer this question I said earlier, you can be pro-black and be mixed or biracial. You absolutely can. Absolutely can. But the problem is you can't be upset if you get clowned. If you are mixed or biracial, whatever you want to say, and you do some Sambo shit. You cannot be upset about that. You can't be upset if you're in there like Samboing it up. You just can't. Now, would I ever deny that you are black? No. But would I say that you are a coon, or would I say that you can't be pro-black? Absolutely, if the shoe fits. So I say that to all that to say, we should embrace our brothers and sisters, even if they are partially black. But what we should not do is try to sit here and act like the treatment to mixed black people from fully black people is equated or worse to the treatment from the dominant society. It's just not a thing. And then especially when you think about tropes such as the tragic mulatto, that's proof that the dominant society has always, if you're really just going back in history, proof that they treat mixed black people in a certain way versus the way that fully black people treat mixed blacks. That's it goes back to history. It goes back to this idea of the mixed black people, specifically women in this case, being used as these symbols of blacks being desirable, when it came to like prostituting blacks back in slavery and stuff like that. The mixed blacks were given like more favorable treatment, and they're used as these pawns that they would love to uplift and things like that. But then, of course, they were abusing them and doing all this other bad stuff to them and whatnot. So I'm saying all this to say that it goes back to history. You can see the trend of the way that mixed black people were treated back in the day by the dominant society and how they're treated today. And then how we as black people have actually embraced them quite a bit, even if there are a few ignorants out there. Anyway, y'all, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you all enjoyed what I had to say. I'm sure I'll have more on the topic later. I just wanted to give you all a baseline of my thoughts on this. So please don't go and say, oh, you missed this, you missed that. I really don't want to hear it, because this is just a baseline, y'all. Just a baseline. Anyway, again, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.